Y ahora ya vamos a pasar a los temas.
Now we are ready to move on to the final sections, which relate our study of the market process to the legal infrastructure, or the dimension of law and patent behavior which the market process requires.
Que el mismo exige o necesita. Todo el mundo que coja
Everyone please take out a blank sheet of paper and draw a line down the middle, from top to bottom.
abajo. Y vamos a explicar qué son las leyes.
On the left, we are going to explain what laws are, and on the right, what commands are. By contrasting the two, we will see the different social order or process of social cooperation each brings about.
Uno de ellos genera. El enfoque de la economía
In this economics course, the focus is essentially multidisciplinary.
disciplinar. Nosotros entendemos la
We
economía
view economics as the science that studies the laws of social cooperation. It is logical that economics should be closely related to law, which we will define as the set of patterned rules or guidelines that indicate how we should behave in our interactions with others. The trouble is that there are two different concepts of law which people typically confuse, and these go hand in hand with the concepts of law and command that we are going to consider. We will see that each gives rise to a different process of social cooperation. So, let us begin with the concept of law. On the left, we will explain what a law is. Write law in capital letters. The concept of law. That is the important concept, and we will refer to it as, please write this down, substantive law. In other words, the substance or essential content is what matters. On the right, we will note down what a command is. Please write command in lowercase letters, because we will see that commands are radically different, much less important, and in many cases perverse. You see, commands, and this is the problem, often come disguised as laws. They formally appear to be, or are put into force as if they were laws. That is why on the left I have written substantive law, law in a conceptual sense, in terms of content. And on the right, I want you to write command, and then in parentheses, though it may formally appear as a law. When a command appears as a law, it is not a law in the full sense of the word. It is disguised as a law, but in reality it is a mere command. What I am saying is important, for if you pick up, in Spain for instance, the official state gazette, you will see that nowadays tens, hundreds, thousands of laws are issued, when in reality they are not substantive laws, but mere commands. Keep in mind that we are going to study the conceptual difference between the two, regardless of how they are formally presented. So we have substantive law on the left and command on the right, though it may formally be called a law. Now we will begin by defining what a law is. A substantive law is an abstract rule which deals with general subject matter and applies equally to all. That is, it takes no particular circumstance into account. So, what am I referring to when I define substantive law in this way? I am referring to rules of the following sort. For example, no killing. In other words, homicide, the killing or murdering of a person, is prohibited. This is an abstract rule. It applies equally to all. It takes no particular circumstance into account. So, if I were to kill my wife, I would be a murderer. And if my wife were to kill me, she would be a murderer. A murderer cannot invoke particular circumstances. Well, this man was a Jew, so it was all right to kill him. Or he was an Arab. Or he was a Christian. Or he had blue eyes. These are particular circumstances. I found him unpleasant. Or, listen, my husband was unbearable. He was a scoundrel, and that is why I poisoned him. No, no particular circumstance is taken into account. Killing is prohibited. The rule applies equally to all. Another abstract rule which deals with general subject matter is no stealing. Swindling is prohibited. Contracts must be honored. This is an abstract rule. It does not specify which contract, nor what particular behavior must be exhibited. It simply states that promises given must be kept, and that is the end of the story. Under any and all circumstances, promises given must be kept. Ownership must be respected. Life must be respected. The actual circumstances do not matter, because substantive laws are abstract general rules which apply under any circumstance regardless of any specific factor. Furthermore, we are all equal before the law. Our behavior is measured by the same yardstick. In abstract terms, we are all equal. No distinction is made. We all must honor contracts, respect life and ownership, not deceive, etc. Is that clear? Okay. This is important, and I am stressing it because we are now going to see what a radical difference exists between this concept and that of a command. On the right, we will define what a command is. What is a command? And take note, as I have said this several times already, it does not matter if the command is issued with words like Tax Reform Law Number 29/2010. That is not a law. That is a command. We will define command as follows. A command is specific legislation which deals with particular subject matter. Note how emphatic I am about this. Please underline specific. A command is specific legislation, something that is legislated which deals with particular subject matter and orders that certain things be done under particular circumstances. Take note, this is crystal clear. Legislation. We are no longer talking about a rule. In fact, we will soon see how rules emerge. They appear in an evolutionary manner, and there is the entire theory of natural law, etc. But now we are talking about legislation. In other words, something developed, issued, and imposed. Legislation. Remember that it is specific. Underline specific. It involves particular subject matter, and it orders that certain things be done under particular circumstances. Note, specific, certain, particular. So, commands include, for instance, all of the poorly named administrative laws, all tax legislation, all regulations, and all intervention directives. There is rampant legislative inflation at all levels of the Spanish government, municipal, regional, and central, not to mention the European Union or the United States. Everything under the sun is legislated. Everything you can imagine. Legislation covers the characteristics of labels, the height of bridges, the content of different foods. These are all commands. They are not laws.
No son leyes.